Believe it or not, the title isn't clickbait. A new Assassin's Creed game has indeed been revealed, and it does sound pretty it sounds pretty terrible, I'm not gonna lie. Interestingly, this wasn't revealed by Ubisoft, but none other than Jonathan. If you're unfamiliar with Jonathan, he's one of the most reliable sources when it comes to Assassin's Creed rumors and exclusive information, right alongside Tom Henderson. So when he shares something, it's usually pretty accurate, and I have no reason to doubt him on this. In fact, if you remember before Mirage was released, there was that snippet of gameplay recorded on a mobile phone. That was indeed Jonathan's information. A couple of years ago, there were rumors about a new Assassin's Creed game called Assassin's Creed Invictus, a multiplayer-focused installment in the series that's said to be releasing next year. While Invictus is still largely under wraps, it's part of 3 major projects currently in development at Ubisoft. The other 2 are Assassin's Creed Shadows, which we know is coming out soon, and also Assassin's Creed Hex. All 3 will be connected to the Assassin's Creed Infinity Hub, a centralized platform designed to unify the future of the franchise and deliver a more cohesive experience for players. If you're interested in learning more about the future of Assassin's Creed, check out my video where I dive deeper into all the upcoming Assassin's Creed games. Now let's focus on Assassin's Creed Invictus. While multiplayer isn't new to the series, according to Jonathan, Invictus seems to be heading in a completely different direction. It's described as blending multiple gameplay styles, with elements reminiscent of games like Fall Guys, Super Smash Bros, and the classic Assassin's Creed multiplayer modes we haven't seen in a while. However, this game is shaping up to be something very unique, unlike anything we've experienced before in the franchise. How do I feel about this? Honestly, I think it sounds pretty terrible, but let's break down everything that Jonathan has revealed so far about what might be in Assassin's Creed Invictus, and you can be the judge of this information. So the very first thing I want to go over that was said by Jonathan in his tweet is the basic idea behind Assassin's Creed Invictus seems to be quite simple. So how it works is players will enter into various rounds, where they will compete against one another, doing different activities or challenges each time. He mentioned that right now it's expected that there will be 16 players per match, though that number could change as the game develops. The key is that there will be multiple rounds of competition, and as players progress, they'll get to tailor the experience by choosing from different powers and building up their character for the final round. Now this is where the multiplayer side of Assassin's Creed takes a different turn compared to past Assassin's Creed games. Instead of just sneaking around trying to assassinate other players, like we've seen in Brotherhood's multiplayer, there's going to be more variety in the types of rounds and objectives that players face. One of the rounds that Jonathan mentioned will have you playing a team deathmatch, where you'll likely need to rely on good teamwork to come out on top. Another will be a free-for-all mode, where it's every assassin for themselves, with no team to back you up. He even mentioned a speed round, as quoted by Jonathan, where players have to go towards the luminous points scattered across the map. But to me, the biggest surprise in this rumored Invictus game comes from the arcade-like elements. It's hinted that Invictus is expected to be more fast-paced and quote-unquote gamey than the usual Assassin's Creed games. For example, the characters you'll play as will have less weight to their movements, and their hits won't feel as impactful, which signals that the game is designed to be lighter and more fun, instead of being rooted in heavy combat mechanics. Jonathan compared it to the bubble shield that players can use, which brings to mind Super Smash Bros. As a form of defense in battle. Now I have not played Smash Bros, so I have no idea what to expect from that, but if you have, I guess there's that. Sure, this is not something you'd expect in a typical Assassin's Creed game, but it sounds like Invictus is embracing this arcade style play, leaning into a more casual experience that might appeal to a wider audience beyond, just die-hard Assassin's Creed fans. Jonathan also mentioned the camera angle. Before I speak about what he said, the gameplay you're seeing throughout this video is just random pieces of gameplay that sound similar to what the rumored Invictus game looks like, so just bear that in mind. Anyway, from what's been rumored, it's suggested that the camera will be zoomed out much further than usual, making characters appear quite small on the screen. This could give the game a more strategic feel, where you're looking at the big picture and planning your moves based on what's happening around you, instead of just, focusing on one-on-one fights, like in earlier multiplayer modes. To be fair, I can see this also helping with the chaotic energy of having 16 players running around at once. The rumor from Jonathan also mentioned the maps we'll get to compete on. So far, 4 major locations have been teased, and they all sound like they're based on past Assassin's Creed settings. First, we have Baghdad, which is the main setting from Assassin's Creed Mirage. Next up is Japan, which if I was to guess is definitely in reference to Assassin's Creed Shadows, which will take place in feudal Japan. Now, although details on the Japanese map are scarce, the possibilities for an environment filled with cherry blossoms, temples and traditional architecture does sound quite interesting. Apart from Baghdad and Japan, there's also the Paradise Island map that Jonathan implied might be inspired by Black Flag, specifically the pirate themed parts of the game. Black Flag has always been one of the fan favorites, to be fair, and a return to this tropical setting could bring back the vibrant vibes of that game, except in a much more compact and whatever on earth Invictus is kind of way. And then there's Pompeii, which sounds like it's going to be the most dramatic map yet. This one has a pretty strange twist. Jonathan in his tweet mentioned that lava from the famous volcanic eruption is said to rise whilst playing on this map. If I was to take a guess, I'd say this would make the arena smaller and force players closer together as the environment itself becomes more dangerous. Now, moving on from the maps, Jonathan also mentioned characters, and this part might excite some people. So far, 2 iconic names have been confirmed, Ezio Auditore and Cesare Borgia. With these 2 revealed, it suggests that Invictus might feature a roster of historical figures from Assassin's Creed lore. This could open the door to plenty of nostalgia and fan service. Could we see the return of Edward, Altair, Bayek, or even some more obscure characters? The possibilities are certainly interesting, but based on everything I've said so far, I'll be honest, I have no idea what to even expect for this game. It doesn't even sound like I'm talking about Assassin's Creed at this point. However, there is even more information. Jonathan mentioned power-ups and customizable builds, which sounds interesting. So how it works is players who make it to the final rounds will get to choose from different abilities they can use in the final round. I really don't know what to even say. I mean, that information sounds so vague that I simply cannot picture a scenario like that in my head. I guess we need to carefully decide which powers best fit our playstyle or help counter our opponents. Maybe we'll see powers such as boosting speed, strength or defense. And there is also the whole creating a build for your character. Now, while Assassin's Creed Invictus leans more towards arcade-like gameplay, which may feel like a departure from the usual Assassin's Creed multiplayer that some of us played years ago, I could see this game bringing a different kind of fanbase inside to the franchise. I mean, think about it. Traditionally, Assassin's Creed is known for stealth, historical settings and whatnot. It's very, how would you say, specific to a certain niche. But Invictus seems to focus more on action and fun, rather than strict realism. Maybe this random shift could help it stand out in an increasingly crowded multiplayer space by offering a more light-hearted and accessible kind of experience. Or maybe, just maybe, it turns out similar to Concord and flops massively. But I'm never one to pray for any game's downfall. I mean, after all, a lot of people say Assassin's Creed is repetitive. What I do know is that it's very clear that the developers are trying to appeal to a broader audience by implementing this very strange concept for an Assassin's Creed multiplayer game. So yeah, there we have it. In the end, while there's still a lot we don't know about Assassin's Creed Invictus, the details we do have from Jonathan paint a picture of a game that's aiming to redefine multiplayer for the series. Whether it's the focus on arcade-style gameplay, the integration with the Infinity Hub, or I guess the promise of iconic characters and locations, it is clear that Invictus is one of the most random and at the same time, interesting projects in the Assassin's Creed series. So all we can do right now is wait for more details to emerge. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as considering joining my Patreon by pressing the link down below. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one.